The Bring a Trailer podcast.
We go backpacking at Philmont. It's a huge, massive, like 250,000 acre preserve. And
Philmont?
Yes.
Okay.
Donated to Boy Scouts of America from the founder of Phillips 76.
What quadrant of California?
No, New Mexico and Colorado.
Not California at all.
It's on the lower Rockies. And because like 20 to 25,000 scouts go through this every year, they have to be very strict on how you backpack in the space to be low impact. Otherwise, it will just ruin it for other people. And so they have bathrooms set up, quote, big quotes, bathrooms. And there's always 2 seats. There's never a divider, but there's always 2 seats.
Okay.
And it might be like a nice, like enclosed, you can have some privacy kind of thing. Or it might just be like a wooden box just over some...
This is private or it's public land?
Privately owned by the VSA. And the seats are always in one of 2 orientations. And they are pilot, co-pilot. So you can imagine what that looks like.
Yeah.
Or pilot to bombardier.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And depending on what you got to do and who you're going with, who's also
you have to choose carefully?
You might choose carefully which one you're going to use.
Okay. Is this in the pod?
This could be in the pod.
Sure. Welcome back, everybody, to the Bring a Trailer podcast. Alex and obviously Beck coming to you from the headquarters of Bring a Trailer, talking about bombardier configuration and outhouses.
Correct.
Fillmore spelled
Philmont.
Philmont. F-I-L-L or P-H-I-L?
P-H-I-L-M-O-N-T.
Okay. I love it. It's a great name.
Near Cimarron, New Mexico.
Is that where the caverns? Is that like Carlsbad Caverns, that kind of thing?
I don't know. We didn't do that. But the headquarters for Philmont Base Camp, it looks like a World War II installation.
It probably was.
A-frame tents, just in a giant grid formation. And it is thousands of scouts who are just arriving and they're about to go out for their 2-week excursion, and thousands of scouts who look dirty and grizzled, just coming off the mountain on their way out. And they're all intermixing and they're all going to the dining hall at the same time. And it's an interesting space.
You could film Oppenheimer there.
Possibly.
He loved New Mexico. That's like why he wanted to build Alamogordo out there.
It's hard being a parent. I haven't seen like a movie in so long. I have had the Blu-ray copy of Oppenheimer sitting in front of my television for about a month now.
You haven't had the viewing pleasure?
No.
Oh.
I don't have 3 hours.
Yeah, it's tough. I haven't watched Killers of the Flower Moon for that same reason. It's so long.
Same.
Yeah. Someday. I've watched Oppenheimer twice. It's great. You would love it. You should just do that.
I know. I need to just ruin it.
You have to sacrifice to enjoy your life.
The other way to enjoy life. The other one,
my wife did not listen to the episode where I said something horrible about
what was keeping you married.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't even remember totally. Sorry, you were going to say something. It sounds like we're coming in unprepared. I actually have real things I want to talk to you about. I do.
Oh, wow. My confidence has boosted up dramatically.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah. I was
You thought we were going to talk Boy Scouts the whole time?
Is that not what this podcast is?
Aviation Corner.
Aviation Corner. That was all lunch was Aviation Corner. No, a Project Hail Mary. I just saw that. That was like the first movie theater for years, I think.
I actually meant to ask you about that at lunch because there was some scene I wanted to relay to you, which is great. Oh, because you were talking about people passing out in airplanes, and when they drug him, spoiler alert, when they drug him to put him in the fighter jet, it's so great.
Yes, so he's trying to drug him. Yes, lands on the aircraft.
It doesn't spoil the movie. No, but it's great. That is in the book. I can confirm that. Do you want me to hit you with the piece of exciting? Like I almost blurted this out to you in the office downstairs.
Please.
Okay. Do you know where the name for the GT350 and the GT500 came from? It has never occurred to me in all my time I've been interested in these cars to find out what the heck 350 and 500 mean.
Can I say,
I promise you,
theories I've heard.
If you don't know, there's no wild guess.
Right. So the one that I know is not right, but it was spread via Top Gear, was that it was the horsepower rating.
Yes, incorrect.
And Richard Hammond puts his GT350 on a dyno. It obviously doesn't put out 3.
It was like a 65, 66?
Correct, yes.
They're 306, I think, or 315.
Yeah, the render just over 300.
Yeah. And the hypo was 270. So it is more, but not a ton more. Yeah.
And he takes a Sharpie and slashes out the GT350 on the side stripe and writes in whatever the lower number is. I'm sure it was a dry erase, but still. And that sort of pervaded for a long time, that was what it was all about. I do know that the 500, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, was purely just because it sounded larger.
Correct.
Yes.
Because it's not, that's actually what, so first off, good for you. Car guy credentials for you can remain. Mine should be revoked because I've never thought about it before.
Yep. It was just, this one's the bigger one.
Right.
So it just needed to be
So
a nice
that-
number.
I guess in the kind of back of my head, I understood that to be true, and that is true. 500 is just bigger than 350. But how did they land on 350?
Right. The other one I've heard for 350 was some sort of distance issue. Like
That's exactly what it is.
Is that what it was?
Well,
Was it
I mean,
distance from one shop to another. Or
correct.
something?
Okay, so see, this I didn't even get to stump you. I was blown away by this. You've thought about it, which is
Mhm.
great. I had not. I was opening up a car on the site, which I desired to discuss on this podcast, which is Carroll Shelby's own GT500,
Yes, it's
which
on
is
the
on the website
Right.
and still will be when this goes up in Greece now, of all places.
Oh, yes.
And then I was like, these are 428 police interceptors, so it's not the cubic inches, it's not the HP.
Correct.
I actually like badly want to own one of these cars, and I can't believe I never thought about it before. And I'm like, what the hell? Where did the names come from? So thank you, AI. I Googled it, and then I backed it up. I did a couple other, I clicked on some legit websites, and I believe what I'm about to reiterate to you, I believe this to be true. It is the number of steps from the shop where they were originally building these to the fence line at LAX, which was adjacent to it.
Gotcha.
And it was 347 steps that Carroll Shelby asked one of his employees to walk, and they rounded it up to 350. And then when it came time for the 500, they're like, what's a bigger number?
I'm going to,
Because it's a police interceptor, 428 in the 500.
I'm going to assume I got that information from the Colin Comer book about the Shelby Mustang.
So the first thing I thought of was, I was like, Comer would know the answer to
Sure.
this.
Yeah, great book, by the way. It's just called Shelby Mustang. Has a great GT500 on the cover, white with blue.
He's probably got
stripes.
a whole chapter dedicated to the walking, the pacing, the pacing story.
Certified paces.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's probably where I read that from. Great book, though. Gives you all the appreciation you need for like the first year cars, which if you didn't.
The
really-
65s, yeah.
Correct.
Which I didn't really know about till a couple of years ago. But yeah.
That's a great one. And also shout out to Howard Pardee, who is the registrar for 65, 66. He is just a delight to talk to. I only get to do it so often, and he has like no ego. He is very happy to share information. One of the most delightful things is I'll give him a VIN. I'll be like calling him up, and we'll always talk for 10, 15 minutes of just how life's going. Then he wants to get to the business. He was like, well, what's the VIN, Beck? And I'll share it with him. And obviously he won't tell me what it's supposed to be, right? The stamping on the block, but he'll just tell you if it's right or wrong.
Yep.
And then he also occasionally has personalized notes from when he's seen the car.
I was gonna say, he probably knows about a lot of the cars.
Like, oh, I saw that in 93 in New Jersey. And in my notes here, the fender may have been replaced. There was firewall damage here. Like, that's awesome.
It's
Very
the
cool.
best. And there are people like that in a number of,
Mhm.
of clubs, right? In various places. Like that's happening with my elite right now.
What are you doing?
Ostroff, the guy who's the expert in the East Bay, shout out to him, is buddies with my dad. He's like the leading elite expert. And my dad reached out to him when I bought the car, and he was like, I know that car. I know that chassis, and bring it over. He's in Richmond. Bring it over, and we'll bring all the elite guys out. And so, like, again, somebody who has familiarity. Like, we need to move the original engine. And he told us exactly how much they weigh. And he's like, take the transmission off. It's this much lighter. He's like, this many people can lift it. He's like, you can take the passenger seat out and the whole motor will fit in the passenger seat. So he knows like I love that kind of knowledge. And you wonder where, all these guys aren't kids. You wonder where that's going to go.
Yeah. And if they're good about it, they're keeping a database. It's not just all in their head, not just all handwritten, right? To be handed down to somebody else. It's actually some sort of online database or registration that you can go through. I think probably the Cobra Club for Shelby's, but there are a few other individuals out there like David Wise, Jerry McNeish, who do their own, for-profit, understandably, where they're very much holding back the information, and then you come, you pay for them to fly out to you and they certify your car. And my favorite is when we have like a Z28 come through and it'll have multiple McNeish certifications.
Oh, yes.
It got done like 12 years ago, but like now the time has passed, 20 miles have been added to the car, but
the new owner wants the experience, right?
Correct. And also you got to make sure that in 15 years, like that motor may have been swapped or there's other issues or they've corrected stuff. One thing I really like,
people learn new stuff about chassis, chassis numbers and stuff. Yeah.
I also like the McNeish ones where it specifically gives out a whole sheet of all the problems. Like of all the things, like this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And there'll be people who will say like, my car is great. They'll admit like, oh, there's always problems, but that still, relatively speaking, is still quite good. It's the transparency thing, right? People can associate a dollar value to it. There's one sneaking issue with all this that I have heard rumors of, and I'm sure it's true actually, is with Shelby inspections specifically. When they go to win awards, there'll be very rare original parts that they'll rent out to each other.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right, they want a
because you
specific
don't
steering
actually
wheel.
want to run it day to day because it's actually maybe not a very
rare,
good part. Yes.
That's true as well. And but it's also just super belts, right? Think about all the disposable stuff, but also just high touch stuff like steering wheels, shift knobs, things like that they'll keep in inventory.
Tires, the old tires,
right? And then not only will they like bring it out of storage to put on the car to then go compete with, they'll actually even rent it to each other. Even worse, and I worry about this, for the certification process.
Oh, sure.
Right? Then the certification report with that list of what's wrong doesn't show it, but then those parts come right back off of it.
No disrespect to any of these guys, but all of it has some amount. Because remember, a lot of these people who are certifying the cars are also buying and selling them. And so there's like money involved in the people who are the certifiers.
Certifying art. We've talked about this.
Yeah. Ferrari Red Book, a notorious bad example. I have it for that white car downstairs. But if you pay a fortune and Ferrari sends a person out, are they really going to inauthenticate your car? Are they really going to no, come on, give me a break.
Well, that's where the recent photography trumps all.
Of course.
Like it doesn't matter. You can have certificates, from 6 months ago, but if the photos are from 5 days ago, that's better.
Yes, agreed.
Better.
Completely. Agreed completely. I had my cord certified in Auburn as if it's not a real cord. You know what I mean? And then like a lot of you, I didn't have mine judged.
So how many cars do you have that are certified?
Well, the green Porsche, as you know, I got the COA on that and it says that it was white. And I'm like almost positive that's original paint on chunks of the car. Some of it has been repainted, but like the shell itself, you can see the primer wearing through. And we bought that car when I was only 23 years old with 100,000 miles. I don't think it had been repainted. And if they did, they took it down to bare metal, which wouldn't make any sense for a $9,000 912E in 1999. We also bought it from the second owner. So like it says it's white and also has weird options on it that don't track with the car. But I think that was early in the Porsche, the specification sheet. That was when they switched from COAs to whatever the newer product is. And now there's an even and now there's an even newer product.
So there's a classic technical certificate and a PPS.
They're trying to get you to do the Red Book thing though, right? They want you to take it to a center and pay a fortune for
what they found was there's similar to the Howard Pardee.
Is this a real 912E? Did somebody put a 4-cylinder in a 911? I don't know.
4-cylinder powered 911.
Sorry,
put it in the headline.
It's so stupid. I mean, people get red books on like 2020 458 Pistas, and it's like maybe it's a Fiero under there. I don't know. Fiero. Sorry.
So they were having the same issue that Howard Pardee would get worried about, which was they were putting out documentation that shows what the chassis number was and what the engine number is supposed to be. When instead now,
which allows you to then restamp,
which is tough with an aluminum block. How are you really going to do it? But that's
we've seen Porsches with issues.
I've seen Porsche engines with weird font.
Right. And then you get into this zone where like who knows what Porsche shops were doing 50 years ago. Like we've definitely seen blank motors. We've seen motors with extra little stampings on them, which maybe indicated a replacement engine.
KD engines.
But but where they would put the original number on it. I mean, it's fascinating.
So the COA, I actually don't know what year specifically ended. It wasn't that long ago. But they basically split it into two different ways. So you could no longer just pay and they would put something in the mail that would tell you what all the numbers and originality was supposed to be. Now you can get a Porsche production specification sheet. It's like $100. I would say it's probably worth it for any car that engine originality is not a concern for. So basically, I would say 996 and later, right? All your water cooled.
So that's what I got for my car, and I sent them. Do you have one for the SC?
No, I have an original invoice for the car that has the engine
That's
number
way
on
better.
it. So
and also the old COAs when they didn't care about this stuff are so rad. The ones with the script. Whenever I see that on it,
an actual certificate.
Totally, and that's like when Porsches were way less of what they are now. So you know that was like a head who like loved that car, who ordered that. I did the thing that you're talking about. And they ask you when you're filling in the form, I'm trying to remember, this was almost 10 years ago I did it. They ask you for the numbers and the photos of them. And I sent in, but for some reason they wouldn't confirm the engine. So that's blank on mine. But the transmission they say is original because I sent in the number.
Interesting.
Like a photo of it.
Did your engine look different because you'd done the build on it by that point?
I'd rebuilt it so many times at that point, but it was before the fat motor build. That's how long ago this was.
Interesting.
And my cars are allegedly, Robert loves to joke about it. Shout out to him if he listens. He calls it the Grand Prix White. The Grand Prix White Porsche.
Also calls it the Kermit car.
Yes.
The other one, the Classic Technical Certificate, CTC, that one is like, it's a Red Book light. It's actually, I think it's a lot less.
It is a lot less.
but you still have to take it to a classic certified center, which now has gotten a lot better. For a while, it was a really bad news. Like 7-8 years ago when I was explaining to people, you really want to get this COA, but then the COA
there weren't that many centers.
That's the problem, is that there was only like 5 when they first started. And if you were in the Bay Area, the nearest thing was Monterey. And are you really going to go drive your car all the way to Monterey? And then you have to leave the car with them all day.
They inspect it and everything, right. And probably offer you a few things you could do, I would imagine.
Sure. Oh, they do it. Yeah, they do a full like maintenance inspection and tell you, because you don't want that to show up like that you're, that your brake fluid was at 3%, water infiltration. You don't want that on your on your CTC, right? So you got to get your brakes flushed now. That one does the thing where it just says, is the engine original? And there's a checkbox. Yep. And it just checks it. It doesn't tell you what it was supposed to be.
But even, like, I get why Porsche doesn't want to do that. And I have a lot of respect for the SAC guys and Shelby and all that stuff. But man, if I was a buyer, I'm like, show me all of that, right? Like, your car is the ultimate because I could see your original receipt. That can't be faked. And then you could go look at your engine and there it is. Like, that's all the evidence you need. There's not all this,
Well, and then there's issue for older cars from 356s all the way until I want to say 1969 is you can get the original Cardex, and that is what the original COAs were all based off of, was that they were just basically going to Germany and pulling the Cardex for it. Cardex looks literally like card stock. It was just a way for them internally to record all the options and where the car was going, and then service warranty work, all that kind of stuff.
Do we know how far those go up? I've never totally understood where they end. Around 70, something like
69, I believe is the last year. So that's why there's some early 911s. Obviously, it doesn't go on until later than that, but it's all the 356s. And what's really weird, and there's a story to this, I think I used to know it, I can't remember now. There's some guy in Canada who has copies of all of them.
Right.
I have it saved as canned language, is just his name and his email address. And when people reach out.
I mean, it was something that nobody cared about back in the day, right? It was just an internal Porsche factory thing.
I don't know it's the same thing of like Marty, like Kevin Marty. How does he, I'm sure he would love to tell us how he has all the records.
I mean, now when Ferrari builds a car, they know that they want to document everything and it will have historical significance. But when people were building Ferraris and Porsches in the 60s, they were like, this car's going to get used up and thrown away.
Sure.
Like, who cares?
308.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Totally.
They weren't logging it.
Right.
So you can get a copy, a scanned version of your Cardex from this guy. I know his first name's David. I can't remember his last name. Out of Canada. Even those, though, we've had it where it's confusing or things were scratched out and it's not always the most accurate in the world. But I actually probably would trust that more than a COA. There's people who have pulled COAs for cars that differ the original Cardex.
That's what I like to see. And they're in German. And I used to use Randy to interpret that, to do the interpretation. But I think that is why earlier cars have more reliable. Presumably, whatever they had to do for my car gets confusing because it's some kind of internal record that they're checking, but it's not as accurate as a Cardex. Yeah, for a 76.
And at some point, it wouldn't be in hard copy anymore. It would be saved in some database. Right. So there's no way, it's impenetrable.
Right, totally. We should talk a little bit. So super disappointing on the GT350 thing. You already knew that. I was today years old when I learned that. Do you like 500s? I actually like this car in Greece a lot. But just FYI, not owned by Carroll Shelby in period, owned by him, bought around 2000 and like modified.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did see he signed it himself.
Of course. Do you think he signed it when he owned it? When Carroll Shelby gets out of a GT500, does he have a Carroll Shelby signature in it also?
Did he have a replacement glove box covers to swap out so he wouldn't have to have his own signature on there?
Is it weird if you're driving around in a car that you're responsible for and you're sitting at a stoplight and you look over and your own signature is there?
No, his name's all over the place, man. I think he was probably just fine with it.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe the best version of that story is he bought the car, enjoyed it, drove it, and then the day he sold it, he signed it for the person to take away.
You know it, baby. Signed glove box store. It's kind of faded, so maybe it was. He bought it in 99.
To your question, love GT500s. I think they're kind of the ultimate understanding of what the customer base actually wanted.
Not a high, strong road racer.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say the pinnacle of it is 67, which is so interesting. It's almost like the Beatles, and it's such a flash in the pan. Like, we think about the Shelby timeline. It's basically 63 is the start of, as far as selling cars that we are
Cobras,
thinking of. Yeah, the early Cobras. And then it's 67. Then it's sold to Ford.
4 years.
4 years. That's it. Mm-hmm. It's such a short
And the GT40s are in there. The GT350. Yep.
They're all in there. And that is such a short amount of time. And the connective tissue to the modern car doesn't really come back again for a very long time. they go through a bunch of other iterations of what the most important Mustang is. And now it's actually, notably, it's gone again. They've ended the partnership all over again. So there is no new Shelby Mustang to buy right now.
What's the dark horse is the hot.
The dark horse is the big one, yes. And I think they brought
is that like the GT350 replacement, basically?
Yes. It's the car that you might
trackiest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, GT500s I think are awesome. A 4-speed and a fun color would be perfect.
This is also a 4-speed, which I like. Although a lot of people, to your point about what the customer base wanted, they wanted huge displacement, they wanted an automatic.
Correct. Yes, that's what most of them are.
Yeah. This is a great one, white with blue stripes. It is lot number 242464. It'll still be live when this pod goes live. We can link to it. But yeah, in Greece, which is interesting, from a repeat seller of ours in Greece, 67, as you pointed out, the kind of preferred year for these. I always lumped them together, but I've been schooled on why the 67s and 68s are different numerous times. Great car. Anything else on your watch list that you wanted to bring up? I've got a bunch of interesting stuff.
Why don't you start while I bring mine up?
Okay. Lot of muscle cars, hot rods. We can move through this quickly since I know you don't care about all of this stuff very much. The period front engine dragster, did I show that to you? I've been talking about wanting one of these forever. You know, a buddy and I were talking about buying that one that has the Topolino body on it. This is a 68 top fuel dragster.
Oh my God.
I know, it's so dope. It has the wings in front of the rear wheels, which I like, the little stub wings. This was, it was run from 68 to 72. It's been refurbished. It's been at Cackle Fests, obviously like blown Hemi. It's super, super cool. Has like kind of the spindly early cage. These are the front engine dragsters where the differentials right in between your legs. I love these. You can't race them down the track anymore. I've always wanted one though, because I just love the aesthetics of them. And you can do these Cackle Fest things where you fire them up and you have to wear the respirator mask because you're behind all the nitro pouring out of the motor. Again, shout out to my buddy Jeff, who is like steeped in the lore.
Weren't you on the verge of buying one of these?
Yeah, I was. And like the deal was I needed him to basically be my mechanic because I'm not going to work on a nitro motored car. And he's already got his dad's alcohol front engine. It's actually like a Roadster, has like a Model T body on the back, dragster that he maintains. He wisely didn't want to take on another one. I was going to pay for it and have him kind of maintain it and take it to one Cackle Fest a year. We went to one, me and him, at Famoso down in Bakersfield, where the way they would start these cars, they don't have starters, they don't have cooling systems, right? You only run them for a couple of minutes. Have you ever been to a drag strip?
Never.
Oh my God. Okay, so there's the quarter mile. They're actually like a half mile because you have the shutdown place. And then you exit and there's a return road in between usually the bleachers and the strip. It's like right there. And that's where they push the cars back to the staging lanes at the start. And the way they would apparently start these old front engine cars back in the day is your tow vehicle, like a lot of times a Woody wagon or a pickup truck, would have a plate on the front, like for Bonneville. And there's a little bar on the back of the dragster. And about halfway down the return road, you'd push start them basically. And then they'd make a turn, do the burnout, do the run. And in these Cackle Fests, sometimes people buy vintage look tow vehicles and they do the push starts. And so you're basically simulating everything that you would do at a period race, except the actual quarter mile run. So you start them up, you run them, sometimes they do burnouts, you do the push start. Sometimes it's rad.
Also for vintage karting, they would have had a push start as well.
Sick.
Good video on YouTube. Lando Norris just did one with Carlos Sainz Jr. where they raced time trials, not head to head, in vintage go-karts.
Really?
It's very fun. I highly recommend. And they're just basically, they start like with a 50s kart and they both try to do their best time. And they're just having a full blast.
I bet they're having so much
fun. They're freaking out with the complete lack of brakes and the vibrations and how there's no aero at all. Not that it would be like down.
And those guys started in karts, obviously, right? So,
and they go through the decades. They go from the 50s through the 60s, 70s, 80s, always to modern karts. And it's very funny when they get to like the 2010s and they're like, this is the cars that we were doing when we were little kids. And they go through that. And then at the very end, they race Lando's kart that he now is branding at his own that he's.
Oh, that's what this is for. There was a
part of it. Okay. So there's always a product.
Yeah, of course.
Landing in there as well. But that's what a few of them have that. Like Alonso has, I think, even his own kart series. Wow. It's not even just his own branded kart. And Lando has his own.
When was the big jump in performance? 70s or 80s?
Yeah, the 80s to 90s was a big one. I forget exactly. A big one was center of gravity for like where the person was sitting versus where the motor is. For a lot of them, the motor's just behind the driver. And at some point, they make the realization it needs to actually be next to the driver and bring the center of gravity closer to the middle and not so far back. But other than that, like the technology, there's so many strict limitations on what you can do with it, right? There's still no suspension. It's still a single brake caliper on the rear axle, all that kind of stuff.
man, I'm going to go watch that video tonight. That sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of what else on here is interesting. The only other thing I think that might interest you quite a bit is these are not the prettiest cars in the world, but this is a 62 Plymouth Savoy, which is like this kind of standard looking thing, but this is a max wedge 3-speed. So it's got, look at this motor. It's incredible. It's got a 413 cubic inch max wedge V8. This is like basically for drag racing with cross rams. See the offset? That, yeah. I know. Isn't that sick? Intake. Yeah, well, that's cross ram. So there's a 4-barrel under each one of those with long runners running into each side. It's got a 3-speed manual transmission. I mean, look at it in period. I mean, with the headers and everything, it was just an absolute monster, like, a stock class drag racer. So more on the drag racing theme. Let's see. This will end the day this comes out. This is lot 242650. Chris Baxter, shout out to our editor of this podcast, Chris Baxter. He sent this one to me, and it is such a rad car.
Is that one of those where there's a Plymouth standard model, and then that name is only associated to the drag racing package?
Max Wedge is what that is. Or I don't know if it's drag racing package specifically, but you're getting kind of a standard stripper street car, but then you put the biggest, meatiest powertrain and rear end and manual transmission into it and take it drag racing.
My favorite of those was the Thunderbolt.
Oh, totally. Loves Thunderbolt. Were you with me? We saw one at Barrett Jackson. That was when we
were in Scottsdale.
Yeah, when we had our $14 cans of beers. Remember that? Wasn't that there? I'm pretty sure that was there.
You're right. It was in prep line.
It was in the staging lanes. Yeah, that was like my favorite car when we were there. Yeah, those are so rad. Hurst shifter in this. I mean, just a rad car. I have like another hot rod thing too, but tell me a little bit about what's on your list.
All right. So a few things that they're mostly white glove related as I'm monitoring it for the team. I don't know if we've had one on the site before. I have to look it up, but this is a 2024 GT3 R Rennsport.
Oh yeah. Car. Howard was talking to me. School me on this. I don't totally know what this is.
So every time that Porsche, for the most part, every time they've done a Rennsport, which is their like once every 3 to 4 year motorsport festival, the last 4 of which have happened at Laguna Seca, they've usually announced some sort of car there. Past ones, they have announced like the 991 Speedster there. They announced the 935, which was kind of the predecessor to this. It was the twin turbo 991 track car. So it's not a GT3 Cup car. It is not a car that's meant to be raced in a league. It's purely a track day toy, not street legal.
We've listed a couple of those, right? Isn't that the one
935s, yeah.
When they got Times Square all shut down with those amazing photos?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. They did do, 935 was shot there. This is obviously not the original 935.
But they look like it. They've got like a slant nose and no headlights.
It was a throwback for sure.
And it's a GT2
it's essentially a GT2 RS Club Sport with even less, all the street legal parts pulled out of it, and then no requirements for, engine tuning. They can do whatever they want. And in fact, Porsche supported it by doing a GT2 RS Club Sport / 935 racing support series, similar to Cup Series. They did that ahead of, I want to say, a few F1 races in Europe. They're pretty interesting. I mean, it was essentially a stock car class, if you will, but they're basically $1 million track day toy. And this is the next iteration of that. So this one is a GT3 R Rennsport. So it's not going to be the same GT2 RS, meaning twin turbo based. This is going to be just a normal, naturally aspirated, but 4.2 liter flat six. I like how clean the design of it is. It doesn't have a ton of airfoils everywhere. There's no like NACA ducts every 5 inches.
It's actually less busy than an RS.
Completely less busy, which I wonder what their sort of research goes into when they're thinking about this high end of a track day car. Are they looking at drivers who don't want to be bothered with all of those things as much? It still has like these side race fillers. So like clearly you're planning on hopefully like hammering miles and someone's coming in and dropping some gas on you. But these just look really clean. I like how they're not covered in weird ads, obviously, because they're not a cup car. Very interesting and unique. I'm not even sure how many does it say. Only 77 were made. So
this has a really good livery on it too.
For sure. Mm-hmm. It's basically a red, white, and blue. Yeah. A little bit of a Martini-esque.
The 935 was pretty clean as well.
For sure.
Which is part of why I like that car. This is a great looking car. I didn't know any of these things from Porsche Nashua, and it's bid up to ends tomorrow. So this will be closed by the time this podcast goes live. $918,000. It's so much money for a car that you can't drive on the street. Pretty cool though. Really good looking.
It's amazing.
That's a white glove car?
White glove car, yeah. Roland's are doing that one. It's wild that market is so seemingly strong. Then again, is it?
I don't know. There's only 77
We
of
don't
them.
know.
Yeah,
Like,
we don't know.
But I just mean like that general
this is like
track day car.
Yeah, this relates a little bit to the smoke and mirrors of red books and stuff. Like whether Porsche sold these or not, I don't know if anyone's going to know the truth.
They're not going to know.
Yeah, right.
For sure. I mean, the whole $1 million plus.
But then 30 years from now, when you get a COA on your 2026 Rennsport, right? It'll tell you all the things that you want to hear when you're paying for that collectible car.
Correct.
This is what I was getting at before. I don't know if I love the predetermined collectability of a car era that we're living in now.
Oh, yeah, the speculation, right? Yeah. Here's an interesting question. I've played with this in my mind a few times. What do you think was the first speculated car? Meaning people bought it. I have a very strong opinion.
I think GNXs.
Boom, there it is.
Yeah, is it yours too? Because there's so many of them that are no mile. So people like put them in a wrapper. But like, okay, here's a question.
But there was also like a big push. Like this is going to be it. This is the big thing. We've seen the ads for these cars before. There was a push from dealers, from marketing up top that like, they weren't going to call it a collector's edition, but they were like, this is going to be an important car someday.
Right. But people did drive them. And like we talked about this last time, the NSX that was still in the dealer's showroom. And like, I've been to, yes, I saw that for a big number. What was it? Three something. Yeah. I've been to quite a few Acura dealerships that have NSXs with no miles sitting. And we talked about this last time that the dealer bought new. So that's kind of speculation. Like that was done a fair amount. I bet people did the same with S2000s. I'm sure there are cars that are earlier than the GNX where people sat on. I'm like, probably not because people like to drive Porsches, but would somebody have bought an 89 930 and just left it in their showroom?
There's a difference between a weirdo who bought the car and then either they're a weirdo or there was odd circumstances.
It's when people know it's more or not coming, right? That was what drove probably a lot of the early ones, right? Like, because a lot of the NSXs, they're like, oh, this is the end.
Right.
It's the end of an icon.
So like Z8s, right?
Totally.
Z8s, people knew that was a one-off. There was going to be nothing to replace it. Ford GTs, we didn't know that there was going to be a second.
There's a lot of no-mile Ford GTs.
Even if there is a second, even if you consider the second-gen Ford GT as a lineage, it's not really. It's a completely different thing.
But we were fully into the speculation on a brand new car zone when those came out. And there was even all that lawsuit, you can't buy it stuff. To try
and
to prevent
even when they couldn't sell them, right? Like first-gen Ford GTs weren't necessarily selling like crazy. Second-gen seems like they've had no problem with it, right? It's pretty much the first ones were all allocated to certain people. The GNX, though, I can't think of a car from before then where we regularly get no-mile versions of it submitted because there was a culture around investing in it.
Yes, I think that's right. That's what, 87? Is that GNXs?
Yes, 86.
I love GNXs. I like regular GNs. I like Regal Turbo Ts. I like all of them.
GNs a lot.
Around that same time, early Vipers, we know people speculated on those, like the very first RT10s. Those kind of got bought and put in capsules. Oh, here's one for you. We see low mileage special edition Fox bodies sometimes, right? You've worked on some of those before. I feel like we see SVOs with very low miles.
Sometimes SVOs a little bit. Mostly it would be the Cobras from later.
Cobras and Cobra Rs and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Although that's early 90s, I guess.
By that point, it'd be early 90s.
Yeah. But
because
that's that same kind of
80s,
thing.
You could imagine the speculative market in general started to go outside of cars as well. Like, I'm going to invest in art.
Yes.
All the things that were not necessarily stocks. I mean, there was a stock boom.
And cars, when's the first Ferrari boom? It's in the 90s. So people are starting to trade
Porsches
cars like commodities.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Whereas in the 70s, I just can't think of a car. Granted, it was also...
Well, it was pre-war stuff. So people were restoring Duesenbergs and, Silver Ghost, Rolls Royces and stuff. So there was speculation on that stuff. And people were buying the significant...
Though. I'm talking about like new car speculation.
Yeah. I don't think anything else. Like even when you bought a Duesenberg new, you bought it to drive it and to be seen in it.
Right, for sure. Yes. Yeah. Well, it's actually kind of amazing that those pre-war cars survived at all.
I think my dad told me this. Every single Duesenberg J and SJ is still around.
Really?
Yep.
That's crazy.
I think they made 400 or something and they're all in existence. And if they were destroyed, somebody found the chassis and rebuilt the body. Yeah.
Well, we heard about this with like 500Ks, right? That like all was left was the chassis and they built a car around it.
Chassis plate. Find the chassis plate, build a whole car.
The whole concept of architectural preservation like doesn't even start until like the 60s and 70s after redevelopment boom, right? There's this big pushback to tearing down old buildings and all of a sudden we have this sense of like, oh no, we should be preserving them. These things. And the same kind of goes for cars. It's a little lagging. There's a sense of like, we would say 80s, really 90s is when we start seeing, at least I did. I'm younger, so that's just what I would have seen it. But television was showing the big growth in restoring cars from the 60s and 50s. But you're not wrong. We've had pre-war cars that were restored well before that.
Yep.
But the whole concept of new speculation of buying that car, we see it with cars all the time now. But I feel like 87 was the first year.
I think you might be right. I can't think of an earlier example. I mean, probably dealers would buy things one-off and leave them in their showroom. And so you still do find pre-GNX survivor cars, but it's some weird circumstance that led to it, not like a speculative
It's like the mini beach car that's over your right shoulder right here. That was the Falvey family who owned a British import car dealership in Michigan. And that was one of 13 mini beach cars that were sent out to these dealerships. We've had the second one on the site now. We've now 2 of 13 have been on BAT, but that first one only had 1,000 miles on it.
Because it was a display car?
It was given to the family and they just sort of like drove it around, their property. And that was it. It was never really used that much, but that's those oddball, really weird situations though.
I love the idea of you proposing that there's not a desire to save things till they start kind of disappearing. I think about that kind of a lot, to even step away from cars, an even grander historical scale. For so long, humans strived to overcome nature that there wasn't a desire to conserve anything because there wasn't anything to conserve, right? Like you're so worried about can I even build a ship that can get across the ocean? Can I even build a train line that, who cares if I have to knock over a couple of the Rockies to build a train line, right? Man is so small compared to nature and what it is to overcome. It's only very recently, literally post-World War II, where we're like, oh, maybe we are having an impact on things and need to preserve things. And that carries into non-environmental things as well.
Taming nature was the goal. Right?
All the way up to about 1900, it was still a big question mark about whether we could do it. So it's so modern. It really makes you think about the grand scheme of human history. Also, there's just so many more people now, and there's so many more rich people speculating on cars. Like the Cord Club was started in the 50s when those cars were only not even 20 years old. They were 15 years old, but they were such pieces of crap that a club had to come together to keep them running. Otherwise, those cars would have all been thrown in the trash.
But they must have saw something in those cars that was important.
Very,
to not
very
just buy
beautiful,
a new 50s car.
very beautiful, and very weird. And so, there were people who were attracted to them, including my dad.
The cars or the people?
Well, we can get to that, right? So the cars excited something in people. Like when you talk to these old Cord guys who are all my dad's age in their mid-80s or even older in their 90s, they saw one when they were a kid and they were really attracted to it. And then as soon as they could buy them, they wanted to, but then they needed a club to you know how to keep this thing running, because they were so weird. But to your point, that was weirdos.
Sure.
Right? That was weirdos. And now there's so many more people in general, but also so many more rich people. It can kind of be a normal thing to speculate on a car.
Well, and also now we have a better word for weirdo, which would just be enthusiast.
Yeah.
Right. And that is going to allow for multiple markets to develop, because you're going to have the same with the Porsche Club of America, started in the 60s, purely because people needed basically a way to use this car. They want to use it commensurately with other people as well. And that then has a trickle-down effect continuing on to this day. Where is your Cord right now?
Which one? The white one that works is in San Luis Obispo. The maroon one that does not is down in Riverside, where the
they're both in California.
Done. Yeah,
they're
both here. They're both here. I'm going to try to take the white one to Auburn again this year. It's running good.
Amazing.
I know.
Ship it out there or drive it out
Ship it. It's too far. There are people, speaking of eccentric people who did crazy things, people did used to drive from enthusiasts. My dad got back into Cords in the 90s because a guy named Josh Malks, who's now deceased and his car's in the museum in Auburn, he lived in San Jose, I think. He would drive his gray Westchester every year back to Auburn, and he broke down outside of Bakersfield, and my dad happened to be driving by. I was like, that's a Cord. And he stopped and talked to him, and it got him back into the club, and he's been in the club for 35 years again since, something like that.
People often talk about how the current generations or the generations to come are not nearly as hard-shelled, and they're so much softer than the older generation. And probably the best example of that is what you are willing to go through to drive long distances.
Yes.
My mom and dad moved from Chicago to San Francisco. They drove in a Fiat 124 Spider with no air conditioning.
Amazing.
From Chicago to San Francisco. That's insane.
I actually think that's sick.
I
would like to do it too. I really wanted to take a cross-country trip. That was my big goal when I was learning how to drive. And I wanted to do it in my Carmen Ghia. And I had planned to do it for many years, even up to my early 20s, and just never got to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to do it in the NSX, which would have been a lot more comfortable. But I think to a lot of non-car people, they'd be like, that's insane. You're going to drive
Correct.
a 35-year-old car across the country, you know, like what if it breaks? And it's like, whatever, man. I love long distance driving. It's my favorite thing.
We talked about this in the last time. You and I totally had plans for the podcast about how much we do enjoy the haul on occasion. I think there's a big generational jump, though, in like the 80s. And I imagine it was probably Japanese engineering that caused everyone to have to up their game, because you think about your 308 or my 911 and driving that for, imagine putting 1,000 miles in a day on that. That would be rough. It would be rough.
Which I did. I did do that with my teenage son, sullenly sitting next to me.
I've done it in the 911 as well. Like, it is a rough, it is a rough thing.
We didn't do 1,000 miles on any day. That's too much. But we were doing 500 a day for 4 days straight. But
I've done 1,200 miles in a modern car before in one day once. And like, sure, it was rough, but like, I didn't, I wasn't sweating. My ears didn't hurt, like all these things, right? So I'm going to guess it's probably going to be an 80s thing as well, oddly enough.
Yeah. I actually love that people want to do that. I mean, I think it was Howard talking about it on this podcast. He's like, there's old guys who still bring their open cars to these vintage rallies. Many years ago, another Colin Comer reference, Colin Comer took a Cunningham, I think it was a C3 or C4 R on the Colorado Grand. That's like a race car with straight pipes. And he co-drove it with somebody else from Road and Track. Maybe it was Sam Smith. I can't remember who. And I asked him about that one time, and he's like, oh yeah, the passenger seat was the oil tank is there. It's a dry sump motor. So whoever's on the right side is sitting, and it's open pipes right by your ears, and you're just out in the sun. There's no, it's just a little tiny windshield on it. That's hardcore doing 1,000 miles
Extremely.
like that.
I don't know if
that's not even racing it. They're just like driving it for fun.
Is that coming from just extreme enthusiasm, or is it because you're exposed to it at a young age, such that when you get older, it doesn't seem so foreign and so crazy? Like, for example, this is the issue that my wife and I always have, which is she was never raised around cars. Cars were an appliance to her when she was a child. And so there's just no excitement, exuberance about it in the same way.
Yeah.
We connect on many other things.
She certainly doesn't want to suffer.
Correct.
Right.
Completely. So I wonder about that. Like, if there's not that exposure earlier on, and then having a role model who appreciates it and explains it to you, obviously, when you're young. Or is it purely a generational thing? Is it just people who sort of raised in that era are okay with it? But I don't know. I don't mind suffering. I'm not a masochist at all. And I don't think it's masochism on a lot of people's parts. I can't speak for other people, but for myself, it is a desire. Like, those people who raced those cars in periods are like giants and heroes to me, similar to fighter pilots from World War I or, World War II or whatever, right? Like, or even from Korea, like people who are like gunfighting MiGs over the Yalu River. Like, that's fascinating to me, and I can never do that. But to even approach 12% of it is really compelling to me. So that's what motivates me to do stuff like that. And there's something to be said for when you've got a goal in mind, like if you've got the Cal Melee coming up, whether or not you've paid whatever money for it, you just know that's your journey. You're going on this big mission, and you can go in your blower Bentley with no roof and just endure 1,000 miles over a week. That's something that you can sort of preset your mind for. I have this issue right now where I'm training for the Beta Breakers, which is this Sunday.
Good for you, buddy.
7.5 miles running across the city. And if I will go for a run, and in my mind, I tell myself I'm going to do 8 miles, I can do 8 miles. I get home, I feel fine. Like, I'm a little sore, but like, it's totally fine. If I leave my house and I'm doing 2 miles, I'll get to 1 mile and be like, oh, should I push more? Heck no. Like, I'm mentally not prepared. I would be exhausted off of that. And there's got to be some of that.
It's a mental game.
Completely.
100%. I do think, like, another thing, part of the reason I like rallies, and I'm starting to itch to get back into them, is like, you're also, well, for the guy in the blower Bentley, like, what do you want to drive your blower Bentley around with a bunch of Teslas? Like taking that car out, like down 19th Avenue is like nightmare territory. So not only do you get to do this cool event with cool roads, but you also are around other like-minded people that are kind of feeding your insanity. And also, in particular, in some of the vintage events that you and I have done, you're like, in these low dollar ones, you tend to be around, like, you're in a 911 or my 912 or whatever, and you're around a bunch of other GTVs and 2002s from the same era. And there are those moments where you're coming around a hill and there's 6 cars in a row, and those are the only cars on the road. And you're like, oh, I can almost imagine I'm in 1970 right now.
Especially if you're in a remote area.
Totally.
Yeah. And you descend upon some little cute town.
Totally. And those are pretty magical moments. They can keep you going. You remember them your whole lifetime, and they can really keep you going for a long time.
If you could set up your own parameters for maybe it's a vintage rally, maybe it's not a vintage rally, right? Like the road and track stuff is not a vintage rally. It's all modern cars that go. So like, what would that envelope be?
The thing I'm obsessed with right now, and this is stolen from Randy, and I think via Randy back to Howard's dad, is the 4-wheel drum brake rally.
Oh, sure. Yes.
You can only come if you have 4-wheel drums. And I would love to get like young people on that. You know what I mean? Like get people who are, I have only one car that has 4-wheel drums and it wouldn't be very good at that. But Randy's Chrysler could do that.
Yep.
C2 Corvettes, early ones are 4-wheel drums.
Telling a story of his dad driving, I want to say in a 300B on a rally, and that concern of, as you're hitting those brakes, right? They're heating up. Those
They're going to work.
Expand.
Yeah, that's right.
Harder and harder.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love transitional technology. The very late C1s and early C2s that have all these fancy things to try to cool the drum. Sure. You know what I mean? And then the 61 300G Chrysler that I love so much, letter series, a little bit later than Randy's. The wheels have like fans or vents that are directionally milled into them to try to get more air to the drum. It's like, dude, just put on a disc, but they're like really stretching drum brakes. Sure. But 300 SLs, Gull Wings, those are 4-wheel drum. Maybe the late ones are discs. The Roadsters have front discs, but the Gull Wings are 4-wheel drum. That Alpha that Howard drives, that's 4 big fin drums, 356Bs, 356As.
Sure.
I think that would be really fun. Howard's dad, I believe, I don't want to speak for him. I wish Howard was here. He liked like big American.
Correct. Cadillacs.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. But there are sporty cars that were 4-wheel drum too.
Right. Man, that would be an interesting one. I don't think I've heard of a rally that had a mechanical envelope.
Displacement would be interesting too. You could do all different kinds of stuff.
You could do a GTU category, right? It's all under 3 liter.
Carbs only.
Carbs only.
If you have injection.
Ooh, that's good. Carbs only.
Because people are scared of that, right? That's one thing I've noticed with a lot of young people.
Sure.
They're like, I'm not going to do carbs. I'm not going to live with it. And in fact, carbs are fine. That Ferrari's fine and has 4 of them. It's fine.
4-speed gearboxes.
Oh, no less. 5 speeds.
No 5 speeds.
Wow.
And you would have to pick a route, right? You're not going to.
Yeah. No AC.
5. No AC is one.
No AC in June or whatever.
That would be an interesting. You'd get obviously you get people who might happen to have a car from the 80s that fits in that window. Man, what else would there be?
It is interesting to think about that. What about you? Do you have like dreams? I mean, with our track day,
do I have dreams?
We're talking about potential run groups for when we do our track day, which I know we've talked about on the pod before. And I have kind of a fantasy of having like old slow car run group. You've never seen that happen before because it's not very exciting, but like I would love to get people to take cars out on track that they never normally would. And maybe they'd even be scared of because like even just like a base model 2006 Boxster is so much faster that you don't even want to be on track at the same time. But like, bug eye sprites and stuff, like why can't those people go out on track? They used to race the crap out of those.
In Sycamore, Illinois, where I lived for about a year, there was a Sycamore racetrack, dirt oval, and they had a $500 race class, right? And there was 2 divisions within it, similar to 24 Hours of Lemons, which was your car can't be worth more than $500, and the way they enforce it is at any point in time they can offer to buy your car for $500 and you have to do it. That's got to be tough. I don't know how they enforce it now. But with Sycamore Raceway, the 2 divisions were just simply a 4-cylinder division and an 8-cylinder division, and it made for the Dodge Neons, just like going head to head on dirt, and that was pretty sick and awesome. Now,
competitive racing, right? I've seen a couple of those, and they were called, I think, the Jammer class. It was like the cheapest way to get into oval track dirt racing. And there's a bunch of people in front wheel drive economy cars, but like stripped down cages, and they were flying and they were bumping, and like front wheel drive on an oval is weird. It's cool.
On dirt, it's pretty darn helpful.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to do it. But for rallies, every now and then I'm hearing about like a new one that I didn't know existed. Or did I hear that
the Del Taco thing? Was that what you were talking about?
No, there's one that's dying out. It might be the last one.
Oh, the organizer of
Snowball?
No, it's not Snowball. Old Jeff's still going strong, from what I understand, at least. Robbie just went on that. No, it's oh gosh, it's the one that I went on in the 912 one. It was so freaking hot with Zach, and Randy built the black car for it. Oh, the Motherload.
Right.
The guy who's been organizing it forever is not doing it anymore, from what I understand, after this year. But that's such a great event. I would really like to go. It's already coming up, though. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get there. But Mike Barron, shout out our colleague Mike Barron, and Robert, our former colleague who we love. They just went on this Del Taco rally, and it looked so awesome. I keep seeing the pictures, and I'm like, man, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, Robert, following him on Instagram, Snapsteer is his username.
Yeah, shout him out.
Shout him out.
He's doing a good job.
Doing a very good job. He's in the Corolla, I believe.
Yes.
Doing that one. I didn't know anything about this rally. I just saw photos. It looked like a very eclectic mix.
Well, I grew up on Del Taco being in SoCal, and it's something to do, you either start or end at the original Del Taco, which is in Barstow.
Okay.
And
cool.
Mike took his NK on it. And gosh, I think might have been his first event that he's taken the NK on. He kind of bought that to do
still
vintage
very
events.
jealous of that NK. He swooped in and got that thing really.
Oh, were you on the list for that car?
No, I saw when it was on the site. It didn't sell. It was the whole thing. I'm like,
you don't ever want to be competing
More
with Mike Baer.
flexible.
Mike Baer will beat you to any car that you're trying to get.
here it is. The Tour. Is this it?
Tour Del Taco or something?
Tour de Del Taco, May 2nd and 3rd.
That was it.
2026.
Just happened because we were getting all the Instagram stories.
So that's an interesting parameter, but that's not necessarily an envelope for or a
Well,
formula.
does
for
it say what it is? I bet it's a lot of these are pre-80.
Sure.
Yeah, although a Robert's car snuck in, they give you a little bit of grace. For a long time, it was pre-75 for a lot of these, and I had to get special dispensation for the 912, which is interesting because now, a dozen years later, that restriction kind of still is.
Sure.
Like that's like now a 50-year-old car.
79
79,
was their
okay.
technical cutoff. Sometimes I can imagine they could make an excuse for if your model was available.
SCs
year,
and
right.
even Carreras making into a lot of these.
Sure. But I don't, just model year is tough because it
I know.
means if you've got to buy this extra car for just these rally events, unless you're very fortunate and have like a nice, beautiful old brick building that you can store the car in,
Yes.
it's tough to warrant
I know.
buying that old car that, I'm thinking about this all the time about trying to eventually do a rally car that I could be comfortable parking on the street.
I know. Well, it's tough. Even with the ratty old cars. I mean, it occurred to me, we had those visitors in from Donut Media was it last week, I guess?
Wednesday,
and I was
yes.
walking them around and I was like, they were asking about Randy's Giulia TI. And I was like, oh yeah, this is like a rally car. And I was like, this green one's a rally car. And I'm like, neither Randy and I drive these very much, but that's what we built those cars
Sure.
for kind of and used them for a lot. And they're both kind of ratty and yet they sit inside.
Right.
Mine leaking oil. No, it's not even really leaking that much, but I do want to do more of that stuff. Okay, we got off on a tangent. I was going to talk about other cars, but anything else you wanted to hit, either specific cars or results or anything like that?
We had our 300 SL Gullwing in white glove close, sold at 1.5 mil. That was kind of unexpected. We thought it was going to do a little bit less than that. Seller was thrilled. That's one where the car was very much a driver's spec. But I think because it had been with the owner for so long and he knew the car so well, people are always afraid of the unknown.
Yes.
So it could have looked twice as good, but the person bought it in 2024 and it would have sold for less.
Yep.
Confidence.
Sorted
and-
car.
Sorted car. You're buying the seller, not the car. That
And most
made it
people who
better.
buy those, speaking of rallies and events, want to go out and use them.
For sure. Completely.
That's like the ultimate car for that.
completely.
And I love those too because they get you in anywhere you want to go. Like
Right.
that's like a ticket to
Well, it's
almost
got
anything.
the age part of it, right? And of course, if you submit it to most things, they're just gonna be so excited to have.
Yep. One last one that I'll mention from Silver Arrows, our buddies. Did you see the blue DB5? I'm not a huge
No.
DB5 guy. I'm more
You're a
DB4,
right? Yeah.
but come the F on.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? 8 days on this, so this will still be live when this starts. I've never seen one in this color before. I mean, that's hard to deny.
Man, that
this car is like
that's as clean as it
perfect.
gets.
I know. I mean, there's a reason it's such an icon.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, just wanted to shout that out.
I'm very excited for whatever the BAT track day might eventually be. I've always been.
Will you take the SE?
I mean, where do we know where we're doing this yet? Are we
Willow.
playing? Willow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, if I can, I will go. I'll take it.
Okay.
I've another shocking thing. I've never driven on track before in my life.
What? I thought
Yeah.
you were autocross though, right?
Autocross.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
plenty of autocross.
In
but
the
never-
SE?
In the SE and the O2,
Okay.
but never on an actual track.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have a slow group. We'll have instructors. We'll have all kinds of stuff.
It'll be a Targa group.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about all kinds of interesting ways to split that up. What if you had an open top only rally?
Okay. I like that.
Like no tops. Like you can't put your top up. It has to be
Tops
top down
off.
the whole time. Branding is a problem. But then the other problem is if it rains, which is a problem for Cobra guys and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And then, but do the people who have tops have to not put them up? And
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could pick an area where you do it where there's no risk of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Willow Springs.
Totally a desert, which is where I want to be. That's part of why the Del Taco run makes me so jealous. Everyone's out in Barstow and I'm like, get me there. Some words that no one has ever said. Cool, dude. Well, we've got our event with our partner McQueen's coming up this weekend. So big plug for that. Shout out to Peter and everyone who's doing it. I heard he made TV ads and they're supposed to be awesome. I'm going to try to find some. I know. Our hotel contact was like, just saw your ad. So that's in Delaware this upcoming weekend. Hope to see everyone come out for that. I'm really bummed I'm not going to be able to make that one because it sounds great, but we'll have a bunch of staffers out there. Should be awesome. And the next thing coming up after that is going to be Hillsborough Concours here, which we're sponsoring. We'd love people to come, but we're not hosting cars. We'll just have a tent at the concourse itself, although more to announce there and hopefully some discounted tickets for BAT fans. Would you go to that? Have you been before?
I've never been.
Oh,
I would love to. I don't know if it's going to work my schedule, but I would.
We're going to cross some bucket lists off for you.
I know.
Bay Area, local. You've never been. Come on. Awesome. Well, thanks, Beck, for doing this. And thanks to everyone, as always, for listening. We are always happy to hear questions, concerns, or anything else. Podcast@bringatrailer.com. Catch you next time.